Okay, welcome back. We're going to start painting the objects. Again, we're doing a general layer using our image. I'm also using the printout. I have my palette fully loaded up with my paint. And I'm going to start with the red vase, or the red-orange vase, I should say. I have a clean brush, clean water, and my towel nearby. So I'm going to mix red-orange first, which is the local color of my base. So remember red-orange from the color wheel? So I make an orange. Start this right here. Red. And there's my local color of my vase. But then I know that my vase is in shadow, so I can try adding a little bit of purple. A little bit of red back into that. And that is going to give me my shadow value. So I have my number 10 filbert. I'm going to switch back and forth between my 10, or not my number 10 filbert, my number 10 flat. And I'm going to switch back and forth with my number 1 flat. I'm going to start with the number 1 flat at the top. And I'm going to make a line where I see that shadow. There's like a crossover right here. As I'm going in, I'm really seeing that my shadow is actually darker than what I have. I'd rather go darker than lighter, so I'm going to add a little bit more purple and red back into that. It's better to exaggerate your shadows and your lights than it is to underwhelm. It creates more interest unless you're interested in making a painting that is softer in feeling by adding less contrast. So I'm just kind of outlining where my shadow mass is, much like we did with our pop art, creating like a topographical map of our value scheme. Yeah, a little bit more color. Okay. Make that nice and dark. Even though I know the left side isn't entirely in shadow, I'm going to just make it that way for now, and then when I go back on my second layer, I can come back with some lights right here. So I'm just making the essentials of what it is. I'm painting the direction of the vase. The vase is very tall and long, but I'm still, when I do go back and I cross hatch back, I'll go in the opposite direction with the vase. So my lemon end is right about here. And then for the rest, I'm going to add, let me actually drag a little shadow right here. For the rest, I'm going to do a mid-tone and then a light tone. So I'm going to wash my brush in between. Use my paper towel to dry off the excess. And I'm going to next mix a mid-tone or mid-value. So I'm going to take my big brush again, or my medium-sized brush, which is your number 10 filbert. And I have a nice mid-tone right here. It's really just red-orange, pretty much straight red-orange. So just 3 values, keeping it simple. I don't want to create a halo around any of the objects, so I'm going to paint directly up to the object, including this lemon right here. It's my studio dog guarding the house. You hear him in the background. Okay. I'm just adding in that mid value. Try to cover up all these whites. And I feel like I've lost my dark, so I'm going to just go right on top. Which creates a soft edge between the 2 values. Studio dog approves of that paint stroke. So next we're going to do the light mass. I'm going to mix my yellow into my midtone. Because when light hits something, it's automatically going to have a warm color inside of it. So you can see I'm adding that to it. If your colors are not exact, because we do have a limited palette, that's okay. But your value structure really has to be there. So meaning, your darks, your lights, your midtones. That's really what makes a painting effective. I know on this one I'm going to have to go back and do a second layer because I'm seeing a lot of whites coming through. And a lot of that has to do with that there's a lot of humidity right now. So the weather will affect your paint. I'm going to just pick up a little bit of light right here. And right here. So it's a little bit messy, but when we go back a second time, we'll clean up some of the edges and find some of those midtones. I might just, after we record, I'll go through and I'll darken this and just make sure that this gets a nice solid coat. So when I do go on, when I do a second layer, you'll be able to see everything. So I'd like to go into the lemon. We know the local color of the lemon is yellow. So I'm using both my reference, my printed reference, and my Moodle reference. So I know that yellow is my color of a lemon, but if I do just yellow, the form is going to appear flat. So I need to add a little bit of that complementary color, which is also a cool color, to achieve some of the shadows. And I'd like to add just a tiny bit, I mean like an itty tiny bit of blue. There. So I'm going to start with my shadows. I just switch back to my medium brush, going with the form. And add a little bit more blue for the bottom part because it's touching the table. And there's a shadow right there. So I'm just doing the shadows right now. This little puckered area right there. I switch to my smaller brush. And notice that I don't leave my brushes in the water. It'll create damage to your brush. And you really want to keep your brushes in good shape. So now I'm going to do my mid-tone for this. And I'll just go back into that yellow and find a middle of those colors. So I'm going to do like a cross hatch into my shadow. It's still wet, which is perfect. It's really the best time to work. Same here. You'll probably have to go over the yellow maybe 3 times as opposed to 2 times. And that is because yellow, again, is transparent. So again, I'm going to go into my yellow, a little bit of white, load up my brush. I say with things that have yellow in it, you're probably going to use more paint. I went over that edge, it's okay. Just clean my brush off. Make sure it's totally dry, and then I'll wipe it off. I'm going to add just a little bit more of an edge right here. There we go. Okay. So it's a very basic colored yellow, lemon. If you want to find any of the extra little subtleties, you know, take your little brush. You don't want to overblend it though. So those are my 2 objects. I'm going to clean my water for my 3rd object because it's white and I don't want to pull any of that warm color into there unintentionally.